Today we're going to transfer some photographs onto pieces of flannel. The first thing that you're going to do is take the flannel or the pieces of fabric that you have cut out and you're going to pre-treat it so that the ink on your computer printer will stay in the fabric. And what I use is this thing called Bubble Jet Set 2000. It's been around for a while and it seems to be a pretty good product. What it does is it replicates the color fairly accurately, and also when you wash your quilt after your photos have been transferred, the pictures actually stay in there. So I just pour a little bit down in a tray. I've got this jelly roll pan that I use because it's got some sides on it, but it's flat on the bottom. And I just kind of mush the fabric around, get it wet on both sides. And I don't have a lot of bubble jet in my pan, just enough so that it keeps the fabric wet. And I'm going to take this other piece because I can do two pieces of fabric at the same time. And that's getting a little dry, so I will add some. So it looks like those two are fairly wet, and I'm just going to let them sit there for 5 minutes. Once they're finished, at the end of the 5 minutes, you take them out and I just kind of run my fingers down them so that it kind of gently squeezes the excess liquid out. And then I'll lay this on a kitchen towel so that it air dries. This chemical is going to stay in there while you print it, and it'll wash out when you wash your quilt. This is the printer that I'm using. It's an HP inkjet printer. It's a laser 3-in-1 whatever. It doesn't really matter. I had a less expensive printer before. This one isn't even that high price, but basically you want to use an inkjet printer in order to make sure that the ink actually soaks into the fiber. Laser jet printers are not going to work because the laser process just kind of lays a layer of ink on top of your fabric or your piece of paper, but it doesn't actually soak in, and so that will just peel off if it would even go on to the fabric in the first place. So you want to use an inkjet printer. So what I'm going to do now is just print off one copy of the picture that I'm going to have transferred onto the photograph. And this is the picture of the two little kitties that I'm going to transfer onto the flannel. The reason that I want this on my paper is because this is going to show me exactly where the printer is going to print relative to where I want to put my piece of flannel. So now I'm going to take this back into my table, lay it down, center the piece of flannel on top of this, and tape the flannel down, and then I'll bring it back and we'll be ready to print it. The picture is here. I've got it flat on the table, and I've got Scotch packing tape and then my piece of flannel. This is kind of a strange shaped piece of flannel, but I really am only going to need about 4.5 inches square out of the middle of this. This has been pre-treated and it's nice and dry. So I'm going to lay it on top of my picture, and I can see the picture through the flannel. I want to be sure that I have enough space up at the top here, and it doesn't really matter. I just want to have extra down at the bottom and extra on both sides for the seam allowance. So I'm going to take my piece of tape and tear it off, and it's going to extend past both sides of the flannel, and I'm going to push it down pretty hard so that when it goes through the printer, it's just going to kind of ease this piece of paper and this lump, which is the beginning of the flannel, in through the printer, and it's not going to get jammed in the printer. So now I'm ready to take it back to my printer and run it through again. Now I'm back at my printer. I'm going to put this facing down. You can see I use just a junk piece of paper, and I'm going to put it on top of the stack of paper that's already in there. I've kind of pulled my paper back away so that it won't get jammed, so that it'll only take that one piece when it goes through. So it's ready to go, and then I'm just going to push print. And there it is. You got a color picture that's a photograph on a piece of flannel. And now all I need to do is remove the tape and remove the flannel, and then I can cut this out however I need to for seam allowances and sew it right into my quilt.